Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. LawMG.com. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. Alumni.iu.edu. Extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. Rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk, the first major federal gun legislation in 2 decades is advancing, helped in part by one of Indiana's U.S. senators who signed on to the bipartisan bill. Ahead, what's Indiana doing to keep kids safe?
Our mission is to teach and care for kids. So it is a burden, but it's necessary now.
98% of hops, one of the main ingredients in beer, are grown in the Pacific Northwest. But as the climate changes, a new variety of the crop found in Monroe County could open up the door to other growing regions.
If something can grow here, then there's no way that we couldn't modify it to grow wherever we wanted to grow it.
And after many delays, officials in Terre Haute broke ground on a new casino. We'll have more on that, plus the latest news headlines from across the state right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Sarah Whitmire, in this week for Joe Wren. The U.S. Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade, the 1973 decision that had provided a constitutional right to abortion. The legality of abortions is now up to individual states, and the ruling is expected to lead to abortion bans in roughly half the states. People have deep convictions on both sides of the issue, but the ruling helps Indiana Republicans achieve a longtime goal, which has been steadily increasing abortion regulations in the past decade. Even before today's ruling, lawmakers had asked the governor to call a special session so they could act in the event that Roe was overturned. Our Dominic Hyab is at the State House with this report.
Yes, Sarah, I'm in front of the Indiana State House, where Governor Holcomb announced he would call a special session to deal with inflation relief on July 6th. In a statement today, the governor said that he expects lawmakers to take up abortion during that session as well. The governor was quoted saying, "We have an opportunity to make progress in protecting the sanctity of life, and that's exactly what we will do." The ACLU of Indiana has been tweeting that abortion is still legal in Indiana, as there is no trigger law in place that would set in place an immediate ban. State congressmen like Jim Banks are pressuring state lawmakers to meet and to enact a ban as soon as possible. Last month, Governor Holcomb told WTIU News that all options were on the table in regard to abortion restrictions. Indiana Right to Life applauded the court ruling today, saying that the ruling doesn't ban abortion, but removes the decision about abortion laws from the hands of unelected officials. A Ball State survey says that only 17% of Hoosiers think abortion should be illegal in all cases. As to be expected, Democrats are in support of legalizing abortion, but Republicans hold the supermajority in the Indiana legislature. Back to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Dominic. We're joined now by Steve Sanders, a professor of law at IU's Maurer School of Law. Welcome to the show, Steve. With Roe being overturned, can you just start by talking a little bit about what the fallout will be across the country and here in Indiana?
Well, I think there are going to be a variety of types of fallout. One, we will see states legislating, like Indiana, legislating new restrictions on abortion. Second, I think we'll see other states opening their arms and saying they would welcome women from more restrictive states to come and access abortion in those states. And third, I think inevitably we will see some women suffer serious, grave consequences from illegal abortions or from botched abortions. And so I think the fallout is going to take a variety of different forms.
So what this decision did was give the power back to the states. So in all likelihood, we're going to have a patchwork of
That's right.
laws?
Every state will get to decide for itself whether to have completely legal abortion, completely illegal abortion, or something in between. An 8-week waiting period, a 10-week period, a 12-week period. It'll be entirely up to states to decide, and we will have a patchwork. That's correct.
And I'm assuming states like Illinois are probably preparing for a flood of people from Indiana and across the Midwest coming there to access abortion.
I think Illinois, positioned where it is in the Midwest, will become a sort of Midwest abortion haven. Medication abortions and other non-surgical procedures, I think, will make it easier for these states to absorb more clients, potentially. They're probably, Indiana would be able to legislate what can happen in the state of Indiana, but Indiana would have a very difficult time preventing its citizens from going elsewhere to access medical services like abortion.
And that's what President Biden spoke about a little earlier this afternoon, just saying that will continue to be legal and he will do everything in his power.
There's a constitutional right to travel. States can prohibit their citizens from doing things within that state's borders. They can't prohibit their citizens from traveling out of states to engage in activities that are legal in those states or under federal law.
Okay. And now some states had these trigger laws in effect, so immediately abortion became illegal.
As of today, the law has changed in some states. That's correct.
But in Indiana, it's going to require this special session.
Indiana does not have a trigger law, and so as of right now, the law has not changed. But as soon as the legislature and the governor agree to something, they could have the law take effect immediately.
Okay. I want to broaden this out just a little bit to talk about the court, because President Biden he called it a sad day for the court today when he was speaking. Can you just talk about what this says about the direction the court is potentially headed?
I think this shows that the conservative majority in the court is now so brazen that it believes it can do what it wants to do. I'm a believer in a theory of constitutional interpretation that says the court shouldn't get too far out ahead of or behind where the public is. With the decision on guns, now with the decision on abortion, I think we see a Supreme Court becoming dangerously out of line with where a majority of Americans are.
Okay. It may be too early to speculate on this, but I know in 2016 there was some talk about adding justices when people saw the court going more conservative. What do you think? Is that going to be a real possibility?
I don't think anything like that could happen unless the Senate filibuster is addressed. In other words, I think, yes, there will be continued pushes for reform of the Supreme Court. Nothing like that has a serious prospect of happening until you change the Senate rules that now require 60 votes in order to do anything significant.
And we only have a few seconds, but I have to ask about Justice Thomas's opinion. He sort of alluded to the fact that we may see something about same-sex marriage and interracial marriage. Is that the path we're headed down?
Justice Thomas has always been sort of off on his own project, has always been a lone wolf. I don't think we're likely to see that immediately. I think the majority opinion went too far out of its way to give assurances that other areas of law like marriage or sodomy laws or contraception would not be affected. I think even this majority would be too reticent to do something like that immediately.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Happy to do it.
Thank you. Indiana schools are searching for solutions to protect kids from gun violence in the wake of the latest school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, that killed 19 children and 2 teachers in May. Schools have increased security efforts in the last decade, but as Binta Bouthier reports, some school officials feel there's only so much they can do to protect kids in classrooms.
Some schools are focused on making their schools more secure. Jay County School Corporation approved plans in 2018 that involved prevention, hardening, and arming its buildings. Arming meant giving some teachers access to guns. Superintendent Jeremy Goley says the measure was necessary in their rural district, where police response times are slower.
We have schools that police officers are not going to get to in time, and we know that. So we provided an armed response capability with trained staff who volunteered for that purpose in schools to be able to access a firearm and stop the killing.
The measure is controversial, but Goley feels there's no other choice.
Our mission is to teach and care for kids. So it is a burden, but it's necessary now in the world we're living in, and we're going to keep kids safe.
Jay County got grant funding from the state that covered some of the costs. They also received support from local government and outside groups like Sandy Hook Promise. Goley says their anonymous reporting system is a surprising success. He added more than 500 tips were sent in since implementation 4 years ago.
In our own district, I can probably assess about a half a dozen students who we were able to intervene through. They had mental health crisis. So a suicidal ideation, suicidal attempt. When a tip comes in that's life-saving, it goes straight to the dispatch center in our county 911 center, and officers can be dispatched to a home to help whoever needs help.
Other measures are simpler, like having room numbers visible from the hallway rather than attached directly to a door. That way, emergency responders can navigate the building faster. Goley isn't alone in his desire to harden schools to make them more secure. Paoli Junior Senior High School Principal Ed Wagner says it's a tough balance between being overly cautious and not cautious enough.
It needs to be to the extreme, but where kids feel comfortable.
After the Parkland, Florida shooting, the state offered Indiana schools metal detector wands. He routinely uses these as kids are getting off buses in the morning, mostly to catch pocket knives or vape products. But he doesn't see the wands as a realistic solution for larger schools searching for threats.
I don't know how you could effectively use a wand on all those kids if you're trying to get, I'm just being realistic.
The school has a camera system and Wagner can see the feed from his office. Escalated smoke detectors have been installed in the bathrooms. They alert him and other staff when tampered with. They can pick up on raised voices and abnormal air quality. Next, Wagner wants an alert system for when doors are propped open that shouldn't be. Tracy Cadell is a Ball State University professor for educational leadership and former superintendent. He sees these efforts as earnest, but they miss the mark.
We will take any type of safety measures, certainly from school resource officers to cameras to, having only a certain number of doors being open in the schools, but it's not really getting to the root of the problem. The root of the problem are the proliferations of guns in our society.
He doesn't agree with arming teachers and wants solutions to be centered on people, but relying on grant funding means schools don't plan long-term, which can make investment in technology rather than counseling and staffing more viable. The incoming president for the Indiana School Resource Officer Association, Julie Quisenberry, also prefers investing in people. She sees Indiana's new laws requiring specialized training for SROs as encouraging.
It's so critically important for school resource officers to know those things and how it is that we should work alongside of students that have endured trauma and are currently going through various traumas, and how it is that we can come alongside of them and help, not aggravate a problem, but to help.
The Indiana Department of Education published school safety recommendations in 2018, which included increasing availability of grant funding to be spent on school security. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Ben Taboutier.
More than $13 million was administered this year through school safety grant applications for school resource officers. That's about $8 million more than was spent on equipment. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk.
Terre Haute broke ground on a new casino this week. The $260 million project will create 500 jobs when it opens late next year. And a Monroe County farmer has a patented variety of hops that could revolutionize the industry in the state.
These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
Did you know there are now even more ways to watch WTIU? A live stream of WTIU HD is now available through our website, as well as the PBS video app. Go to WTIU.org/live to watch through a web browser, or download the PBS video app to watch WTIU live on your phone, tablet, or TV with Roku or Apple TV streaming devices. Find out more at WTIU.org/live.
Your favorite member benefit is getting better and bigger.
This is wonderful.
Over the next year, Passport is adding new shows and doubling the number of episodes for you to stream.
They've given us all that they've got.
From your favorite cooking and travel series.
Even the stairs are breathtaking.
To history specials and award-winning documentaries. Better and bigger.
That really is the fun part.
Stream on any device with Passport on the PBS Video app.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. State legislators, local officials, and casino representatives broke ground this week on the new Queen of Terre Haute Casino Resort. Haley Ryan has this report.
Back in 2001, the Indiana Gaming Commission selected Churchill Downs Incorporated's application for a casino license in Vigo County. Company CEO Bill Carstangen says Churchill Downs is going to do its best to build great relationships, focus on regional and local contractors, and find team members from the Terre Haute community.
Community first in everything we do, from construction to team members to relationships.
Terre Haute Mayor Duke Bennett says the casino's immediate construction impact will put 1,000 local people to work for almost 2 years. He says the casino will hire 500 full-time employees, which will be huge for the city's employment front.
There's going to be other growth out here in this area that wants to be near the casino traffic, and so it leads to lots of economic development opportunities. It's a huge shot in the arm.
State Senator John Ford says Indiana only allows gaming for economic development and that the goal of casino dollars is to use them to grow communities.
My hope is we'll use it here for quality of life things like arts and trails, and we'll use it for housing and other grant opportunities to really draw people to Terre Haute to grow.
The $240 million investment will include 1,000 slots, 50 table games, 125 luxury hotel rooms, 5 restaurants and bars, and Twin Spires sports betting. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Haley Ryan.
Churchill Downs is hoping to open the casino in late next year. Hops, one of the main ingredients in beer, isn't a crop that's usually found in Indiana. But one Monroe County farmer has recently patented a unique variety of the plant. And as Mitch Legan reports, he says it could revolutionize the state's hops industry.
Clearview Farm in northern Monroe County has had hops growing for close to a century. But it wasn't until recently that somebody decided to do something with them.
And so part of the job is coming out here every couple days and wrapping them.
Mike Baker has farmed this portion of Monroe County for the last 43 years. When he bought the land, he initially thought the hops were weeds that wouldn't leave his shed alone.
And we looked at it and we said, it's a hops plant. And my wife says, well, we can't get rid of the hops. So we dug it, just transplanted it, moved it in 2 or 3 different places. So I guess she gets credit for that. And it's been growing.
They didn't think much of the hops plants until 2017, when Travis Wade entered the picture. The two got to talking about the plants, and Wade took a sample back to his genetics lab. When he ran it through the database, it didn't match up with any other hops varieties. So they sent it to Purdue and got the same answer there.
And then we immediately knew that this was something very real that we had to take advantage of immediately.
The crew got to work on the plants and developed a patent for CV12 hops. It has a distinct, spicy, piney, citrus flavor profile, which Wade says would allow it to pair well with other varieties of hops. They're working on developing a handful more.
So each one of these poles is a different variety, so to speak, different genetic makeup.
But the real development is the vigor with which the hops grow in southern Indiana's hot, humid climate. 98% of American hops are grown in Washington, Idaho, and Oregon, where the growing days are longer and the climate isn't nearly as harsh.
The idea is sort of, if something can grow here, then there's no way that we couldn't modify it to grow wherever we wanted to grow it.
The variety has caught the attention of Hop Growers of America, a trade group that represents growers across the country. The hops industry has dealt with a lot the past couple of years, with wildfires and a heat dome affecting production in the Pacific Northwest.
If this variety proves to be more resilient, to heat tolerant, to heat stress, to other pest pressures, I think that our growers would find that very intriguing and very compelling and something that they'd want to explore on their own operations.
CV12's patent notes the variety's increased cone size and unique oil contents. Baker and Wade say it also reaches the flowering stage quicker and at a shorter height than other varieties.
I wasn't prepared for how many international people were interested in this, because it seems that this kind of opens up a lot of other growing regions.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture is also keeping an eye on the development. Public hops breeder Kayla Altendorf says it's too early to determine whether the variety will be a game changer just yet.
In plant breeding, we have this
well-known concept called genotype by environment interaction. Because it does super well in one or two environments, it's really hard to say how it will do outside of that environment, or even just in the next county over.
But she says the news is encouraging. She'll be looking to see what kinds of yields the plant gets and how the variety holds up against pests and other stresses.
It would be really important to test it widely in the target growing region, and then if there's interest in expanding outside of the target growing region, we would need to test in, for example, the Pacific Northwest.
Baker and Wade expect anywhere from 4 to 12 pounds of hops this harvest. They start flowering at the summer solstice and are generally ready to pick around September. After that, the Clearview crew will partner with Bloomington Brewing Company to create a beer centered around the new hops.
It's going to be a blonde. I think a great name for it would be Indiana Blonde. But we're hoping to get enough hops for them to make either 10, 20, 30 gallons.
It'll likely take years to determine how viable the hops are. In the meantime, Baker's imagining a future where Hoosier hops grow across the Midwest. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Mitch Legan.
Several electric and gas utilities in Indiana want to make big temporary rate increases to account for the high cost of fuel. As Rebecca Thiel reports, a consumer advocacy group says this is just another reason why utilities need to move away from sources like natural gas and coal quickly.
Both AES and Duke Energy want to raise rates by more than $20 a month for the average residential customer, NIPSCO by $13. Among other things, utilities say disruptions from the war in Ukraine and the pandemic are leading to huge increases in the cost of fuel. While wind and solar have also faced supply issues due to COVID-19, Kerwin Olson with the Citizens Action Coalition says they don't have to rely on fuel.
We go back and forth between coal and gas, when the reality is we should be moving to much more sustainable models that are not subject to these types of supply disruptions and volatility.
Olson says the state should consider making utilities absorb the risks of their fuel decisions, not customers. If approved, most of these rate increases would only last a few months, but as the war and the pandemic likely aren't stopping anytime soon, higher energy bills probably won't either. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Rebecca Thiel.
Former Mike Pence aide Diego Morales upset incumbent Holly Sullivan last weekend to earn the GOP nomination for Secretary of State. As our State House reporter Brandon Smith reports, Morales' bid was viewed by many as a challenge to the governor and the so-called Republican establishment.
Morales has previously pushed the big lie that the 2020 election was stolen from Donald Trump. He's criticized Indiana's election security, arguing the state needs to do more to prevent non-citizens from voting, and he wants to cut in half the number of early voting days before each election, from 28 days to 14.
First of all, we are going to be efficient. Number two, we are going to save some taxpayers' money.
After his win, Morales preached unity among his party. During the convention, many of his supporters booed and heckled current Secretary of State Holly Sullivan. Indiana GOP Chair Kyle Hupfer dismissed the notion of a fractured party.
This group will come together and we will do the work that we do on every statewide election, and we'll get our vote out, we'll get our message out.
Democratic Secretary of State candidate Destiny Wells calls Morales a far-right election denier conspiracy theorist. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Brandon Smith at the State House.
COVID vaccines are now available across the state for Hoosiers 6 months to 5 years old. Vaccines for children 5 to 11 have been authorized in the U.S. since October. But according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, fewer than 40% have received at least one dose. The projection for families getting children under 5 vaccinated is even lower at only 20%.
The children that are actually at higher risk of serious disease and death appears to be that infant to 4 to 5 year old age range. Even though that incidence is low, it's higher than the other age ranges.
The state's rollout of the vaccine will be staggered. That means families planning for walk-in appointments should call ahead to make sure the vaccine is available. U.S. Senator Todd Young joined 14 other Republicans Thursday night to help pass what would be the first major federal gun reform in almost 2 decades. The bill provides money for states to implement red flag laws and boost school safety resources. It would also close the so-called boyfriend loophole for domestic abusers who want to purchase guns and enhance background checks for gun buyers under 21 years old. Indiana's Mike Braun voted no. He said he received overwhelming feedback from Hoosiers to vote against the bill, which now moves on to the House. Governor Eric Holcomb is asking legislators to send a collective $1 billion back to Hoosiers in order to combat inflation. Under Holcomb's plan, each taxpayer would receive about $225. The move comes as the state's gas sales tax will rise another 5 cents next month, pushing the state tax Hoosiers pay on a gallon of gas to a record 62 cents a gallon. That's the end of this week's program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. LawMG.com. IU Alumni Association, connecting IU's network of alumni and sharing the Indiana spirit through scholarships, advocacy, and volunteerism. Alumni.iu.edu. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. Rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.